Casey Tussman here from the Performance Locker. Just want to go over some quick basics that you should always have with you when you go out for a long ride on the bike, and make sure that you get the most out of the experience, and that way if anything happens to come up, you're always prepared. So we're going to go over some of the basics that you definitely want to make sure you have for every single ride, but then some extra stuff that can make your life a little bit easier in those times too. Here's some items to take on your ride. A couple water bottles, your phone, something to protect it in, like a case or even a sandwich bag, a little bit extra cash, just in case, a master link in case you run into chain issues, a couple tire levers, a multi-tool for any adjustments, something to eat for longer rides, a spare tube, and perhaps a valve adapter if you need it, a patch kit, something to inflate your tires, either a CO2 or just a basic pump. Let's start off with two of our biggest and most important ones, which is hydration and nutrition. We want to make sure that we have plenty of water for the trip. So the length of the trip is going to determine how much water we have. Also the conditions, how hot it is, what our sweat rate is, humidity, all those things are going to play into it. So you'll notice on most road bikes we have 2 water bottle cages. You can never have too much. It's okay to have extra water, we just want to make sure we're not going to run out. If you're going to be on a long ride, like maybe 4+ hours, maybe looking at planning your route at some place you can stop and fill up your water bottles. If it's a really hot or humid day, maybe a Gatorade or an electrolyte tablet that you can drop into the bottles when you refill them, or that you can have on hand. Nutrition's the other one. If you're going to be out longer than an hour, so anything looking at the 2-hour range, making sure that you have something. I like these kind of baby food pouches. They're quick and easy, twist off and good to go. There's different gels and other chews. A lot of endurance companies make something like that too. And these can just fit easily right in the back pocket of your cycling jersey, or if you have a large enough saddlebag. The next thing that's really important is to have a good multi-tool. Now, if I'm on my road bike, I generally try and make sure that I'm doing a lot of kind of preventative maintenance on a regular basis and checking things up regularly. So before going out on a 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 mile ride, making sure that everything's tightened up and in place. So usually I just carry something small and simple that just has a basic set of Allen wrenches for the sizes that I need on my bike, so I check them beforehand, and then just Phillips and a flathead screwdriver, and you should be pretty much good to go with that. If you're riding rough conditions, rough terrain, or if you're not going to be near anywhere where someone could come pick you up or need help if you run into trouble, you might look to get something a little bit bigger and beefier that has just more attachments. A big one is a chain breaker. So that way if you do run into a broken chain, you have the tools in order to fix that. Again, depending on conditions, I always make sure on my mountain bike I have one with a chain breaker on it, and we'll show you in a different video how to change a chain if you run into that issue. The dreaded flat tire is a big one that any road cyclist could run into, and it surprises me how many times people will go out with not only the tools or the ability to be able to change a tire, but without knowing how to do it. So if you're looking at anything over 10 miles, you should definitely know how to change a tire. It's really not that bad, and make sure you have everything you need to do it. So there's a couple things that we want to make sure we have. One is a tube. Make sure you have a tube that fits the tires on your bike. And I always keep mine right in that nifty little saddlebag right there. So that way it's always tucked in. I never have to worry about remembering it. Just boom, it's always on the bike. Always in there too, I carry a patch kit. So if you just get a small puncture in the tube, you can just patch the puncture in the tube without having to replace the tube. Make sure that you have one, preferably 2 tire levers. That's how we're going to get the tire off the wheel when we're trying to change the tube. 2 can be a little bit easier, but 1 will do just fine if you're short on space. And then pump is your preference. So we can just use these basic pumps right here that can fit right in the back of your cycling jersey, or sometimes they'll make attachments where it'll just go right on your bottle cage. These are really efficient, and they're cheap and they're easy to use. The only drawback is a good road bike is going to be running probably over 100 psi, so sometimes getting it up to pressure can be difficult. That's where these little CO2 inflators come in. They're really not that expensive. I can keep them in my saddlebag and pop in and I'm ready to go. The last couple things are optional, but I always like to make sure I have them, is I usually take my phone with me, and I usually like to use this setup that's right in the cockpit area. The great thing about using a smartphone on your ride is that you can use your different apps as a cycling computer, as a GPS, and know where you're at, and you can get some of your numbers and your cadence, your miles per hour from there if you have the right accessories. So it's nice having that right up in the cockpit. Plus, in a case like that, it keeps my phone protected, it's water resistant. If I take a crash, it's a protected area, I don't have to worry about it cracking, and then also I can shove an ID, a debit card, some cash in there, so if I want to stop and grab something to eat, or if I run into some issues, I got some money. And there you go, there's your basic comprehensive list of things that you should be taking out on the road with you. You can go as minimal as you want and you can finite this down, but we want to make sure that we have some of the basics so that way if we get into a trouble, that we have everything we need. If you're going on a group ride or if you're riding with other riders, maybe not everybody has to have a CO2 inflator, just make sure there's one within the group so you can kind of shave weight and keep gear down by just seeing what other people have that could be shared amongst the riders. So safe riding and thanks for joining us.